stuff. Okay. I think my computer has a little too many tabs open. Yeah, if you guys are watching, one person came this morning. Now we have Luke here. And he agreed to be on camera. And we just played the Time to Climb, but I accidentally made it so that I like couldn't pause it. So wait, I did fix that. Sorry, guys. Anyways, when me and Luke played it, I accidentally made it where I couldn't pause it, so I couldn't like explain what the answers were, although he did get them all correct, but I wanted to explain to everybody else. So the first question was, Brady is a 3-year-old who shows little distress when his mother leaves, but when she returns, Brady turns away and avoids her. So it asks what his attachment style is, and the options were distressed, secure, and anxious, ambivalent, or avoidant. So let's go over those. Anxious attachment means clingy. Avoidant attachment, this is avoidant because when his mom comes back, he should just be acting like normal. And so the fact that he is avoiding her is kind of like, I mean, it's an avoidant attachment style. It's not really a good sign. Secure would just be secure, be the healthiest, and it would just mean that his mom left is fine, and then his mom came back and he's like, hey, what's up? So this is avoidant. And they're basically what they sound like. Just remember, anxious is clingy. Avoidant is literally just avoiding, and secure is acting as expected. Kin selection. The options were an action by an individual that's intended to benefit another individual or set of individuals. You can tell that's not right because if it's kin selection, it's going to be about family. So other options were the idea that people can learn to be helpful in a series of stages that's not related to family. The desire to help purely for their own sake, regardless of whether we derive benefit, that's not related to family. So it's that natural selection led to tendency to help close kin over those we don't share genes with. Though sometimes it can get confusing, like there's a lot of adoption in my family. Like I feel like it might extend, I don't know. But yeah, we more tend, I more probably help my brother than even help a friend that's like as close as my brother. So hopefully they would not be watching this right now. That's just what the science says. Joe knows that he is an average looking man, and so he does not expect to end up with an extremely attractive woman. Joe's expectation about the attractiveness of his future mate supports the matching phenomenon, because if you're like walking around when you see couples, it's weird how similar their attractiveness levels most often are. Like if you really think about it, I mean, it's not all the time, but like most of the time, they're very similar in their attractiveness levels. That's a matching phenomenon. Realistic expectations theory, I don't think that's a real theory. Terror management is about fear of death, and social exchange is not it either. Just they match in their attractiveness, so matching phenomenon. Who is the least likely to help an injured stranger? So this is like the Good Samaritan study, which is one of my very favorites. And it was a study, there's a lot of components to it, but it was a study where the seminary students were supposed to go give a sermon a sermon about the story of the Good Samaritan and helping the bystander, but there was a condition where they made them be like running late, and there was a real hurt person on their way to give the sermon about helping a bystander, and they just like walked right by him. So if you're running late, that's when you're unlikely to help. The $20 thing that you see here, that's just a bluff I just thought of. Basically, just keep in mind you're running late, you're not going to help probably, but you should. These are the seeds of misperception, self-serving bias, stereotypes, and the fundamental attribution error. Those are some of the seeds. Contact is just not part of the seeds of misperception. I don't really know how to explain that beyond it, just that it's not one of the seeds. Troy helped Tanisha move. Now Troy's planning on moving. Tanisha feels like she should help Troy, and she does so. This is not really an example of altruism. This is about the norm of reciprocity. Basically, it sounds a little bit more like she feels obligated, or she might want to. Nobody really wants to help somebody move. I mean, if you do it, you are altruistic, but if they already helped you move, you just kind of feel like that you have to do it. That's a norm of reciprocity. People generally prefer gifts that are any of the following except practical, something they asked for, something they never would have guessed, or something that is an appropriate price. And people do not want usually gifts that are something they never would have guessed. Like one time my dad gave me like a cactus necklace for Christmas, and it wasn't an appropriate price. It was like really expensive. And I do like cacti, but like I didn't really like the necklace, and then like I couldn't return it without a receipt, and then I got a gift card back and sold that on Facebook Marketplace. People like a practical gift. Like yesterday, my partner bought me this like really cute bag to carry groceries in. And it's just like whenever I use that, I will be happy and like think about that. And it's very practical. Also, I asked for it. We were like in a story. He's like, "Do you want this?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Do you want a puzzle?" I'm like, "How you not remember that I hate puzzles?" Um, but yeah, it's something that was practical and that I asked for, and the price was appropriate. He wanted to buy me a couple things that were like excessively expensive, and I was like, kind of awkward. I don't want you to have to do that. So especially practical, but yeah, a gift that's not what somebody ever would have guessed is, if you think about times, there's just not that many times in life you've gotten a gift that you never would have expected that you're like really excited about. I don't know. Um, when conflict is being resolved by a neutral third party who studies both sides and imposes a settlement, that is arbitration. Arbitration is a third party actually makes a decision. Mediation is somebody helps them make a decision. And this is used in divorce a lot, where they literally have to pay a third party like a ton of money just to help them decide, and they never even impose the settlement. It's not compromise or bargaining, just mainly remember mediation, they help solve it. Arbitration, they actually make the decision. That may be on the test. Bystander effect is whenever you're not as likely to help when other people are around. So, you see somebody in a car accident off the interstate, I don't think it's likely at all that you're going to pull over. If you were like way out in the country and you're like on a back road and you saw somebody broken down, you'd probably be way more likely to help. You're the only person there. It's it's weird, but it's just like if you really think about all these different times you've seen, like people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna make it worse," or like, "I don't, somebody else will help," or whatever. But yeah, basically, the more people are around, the less you're like to help. And it's kind of like a social loafing thing, but kind of in reverse, that if you're the only person there, you're like, only I can do this. But if you put everybody there, oh, somebody else is probably more qualified, it's none of my business, and then they don't get help, and that'd be like Kitty Genovese. So yeah, try to be cognizant of that. All of the following are components of Sternberg's triangular model of love, except which one? Well, the components are intimacy, passion, and commitment. So just memorize that triangle for the test. So those were my questions, and I'm going to unshare my screen, and I am going to go over a few more test tips. I'm going to get the review packet out on my monitor here and see what I can peruse, what I think is the most important. Let's see. Yeah, we talked about that we haven't really talked about yet. We talked about the running late thing. We talked about kin selection. We talked about gifts. I guess I covered a lot of the review packet. Um, hmm. Social traps are kind of things. A social trap, it could be kind of like the prisoner's dilemma or something like that, but actually I was very excited. I thought of a really good example this morning and I was like, oh. But it's kind of like if you have two people who did a crime and they cover for each other, that's mutually beneficial. But one of them will probably be tempted to rat out the other one, so he gets off the hook and the other guy gets a way worse punishment. So that's a social trap. And yeah, it could be the prisoner's dilemma or something like that. Um, oh yeah, two-factor theory of attraction. That's like on The Bachelor when they jump out of a plane and then their heart is beating and like their body gets confused and think it's like because of a crush. So a good first date would be jumping off a cliff, or maybe not. That might be a little bit too far.